Welcome to The Better Life with Dr. Mariane Pinkston. Join Dr. Pinkston today as she teaches you how an integrative approach to health, combining holistic and contemporary medical information, can lead you to the better life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Mariane Pinkston.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston. I am Dr. Mariane Pinkston, and as always, I love to bring on some fantastic guests, not only nationally, but in the San Antonio area. And I have somebody that I am just honored to have on the show today, who is director at KLRN, which most people know of as PBS, and the old Sesame Street when I was a child, that's what I knew PBS to be. But PBS has grown and done some wonderful things under the directorship of Shari or Sherry? Sherry. So I wanted to read it more the Shari because I thought maybe French Sinclair. It just sounds so.
That would be fine.
Sherry.
Yeah,
forgive me.
It does sound French. No,
forgive me not asking beforehand, but Sherry Sinclair. It is so wonderful to have you on today.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Absolutely. And I really wanted to highlight you because I've been watching kind of behind the scenes what you've been doing over at KLRN, and I think it has become a force here in San Antonio that people are going to have to reckon with and watch. You've got Randy Beamer and Salud and all these wonderful programs going on. Tell us a little bit about you and where you come from and how you came to be.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for that shout out for KLRN. I definitely am really proud of being at that TV station. It is an amazing place, and we are just rocking and rolling, as I like to say. My background is in radio, as we talked about a little bit before we came on the air, and I started when I was 19. Wow. And so it's pretty much all I've done.
Last year.
It was, yes, just a couple of years ago. I'm starting to turn into one of those people that goes, back when, and then I catch myself, don't, but I do. But yeah, my background was in radio, and I started working in an office in radio when I was 19 because I made a mistake. I got told I had moved down to Corpus Christi. I wanted to live by the beach.
Right.
And I was from here in San Antonio, and went down there. I was, I guess I was 18 or 19, and a temp agency where you could get part-time work doing whatever told me, they said, you know what, there's someone hiring. They told me where to go. So I went to the building. They suggested, small building. They said, go up the stairs, and they're up on the second floor. I went up the stairs. They had said, go to the right, but like a typical teenager, I really didn't hear that. Got up to the top of the stairs, and I looked to the right. There was just a door. I looked to the left. The door was open. So I go walking in. There's Grateful Dead posters. There's rock and roll music. And I'm like, this is a cool insurance company. I had spent a brief time at USAA here right out of high school,
Yeah.
So anyway, and I look around, I'm thinking, well, is anybody here? And around the corner comes this woman with just a head full of bleach blonde hair, kind of and she had a Schlitz beer in her hand. It's 10 in the morning. And I'm like, it turned out to be a radio station. And that was my first radio job. I got hired as the receptionist. So
wow.
Took that and went with it, and I've been blessed. I've been blessed by great people. Everything
Absolutely.
In your life is built around the people who help you and support you. And
this is so true.
Right.
Yes.
And I just have been so lucky to have so many great people who've helped me out.
Absolutely. And we were talking about one of the greats just a few minutes ago, Sunny Melendrez, who I had on almost probably 6 months ago or so. But you guys did some work with radio, the 100 Years of Radio. And so you got to work with Sunny. And
I did. And it was such a pleasure. Sunny.
Sunny's awesome.
Oh, he's so great.
Yeah.
He is such a positive person, but I probably made him feel old, which was funny because I'm not sure. I imagine he's a couple of years older than me, Right. But when I was about 11 or 12, I used to ride around when he was on the radio with my transistor radio stuck to my ear on my bike. I'd ride around my bike in the neighborhood, and I couldn't wait for him to play Donny Osmond. I just lived to hear Donny Osmond.
Did you like Donny Osmond too? That was.
Were you Osmond or David Cassidy?
I really was. No, it was Osmond, and my sister was 10 years older than me, and so I played right behind her back in the 70s. She actually took me, I think I was probably like 5 or 6 years old, to an Osmonds concert. Oh, wow. So I got to see them in concert, believe it or not. It was like the first concert I ever went to at 5 years old. But and we loved him. So the purple hat and we had it all.
Oh, he was so cute. Yeah, he was so cute. But Sonny was a great DJ, and it was a big deal. I remember when he went to Los Angeles, like, wow, he made it. But he's one of those people that comes back to San Antonio. I meet so many people here that come back to this town, and they want to be here, and they want to make a difference in the community. Absolutely. And at KLRN, we are mission driven there. I mean, that's our station. We're a nonprofit, but we're part of the PBS network. Yeah. But our local angle is always what our mission is.
Absolutely.
And I work the people that work there, I would like to just say what a great team it is. There's great people everywhere you work, but what I love about KLRN is everybody walks in every day and knows they're making a difference, and they love it.
Yes.
And you can feel it, So, we're getting to do all kinds of fun stuff.
They walk into a leadership, and so somebody's got to be ahead of that and draw that kind of excitement and crowd. And so it seems like that's something that you are doing for sure. And I know you guys have done some very interesting stories lately locally. I know there have been some stories about CPS, and to give us a kind of a rundown on a few things that you guys have been working on.
I will. And our leader over there is Arthur Emerson, who has a wonderful background in this town.
Right.
Has served not only on community boards and other boards that are important to the city, but he's a media guy and a TV guy, an advertising man. And he is the most fantastic boss I've ever had. And I'm not saying that just because I work for him now. He truly is. And you talk to people there, we just love him.
Yes.
He's so fantastic, and he guides that, and he supports local programming here. And that's what I do, is that end of it. We have Randy Beamer now, who came to us from Channel 4, hosting On the Record.
Yes.
And every week we look at what's in the news, and then we bring in guests that can kind of talk about what's happening in San Antonio. And Randy's great to work with.
Oh, yeah, he is. He's been an icon in San Antonio for such a long time as well. So,
right. And so it's wonderful to have him on The Record. And the show's getting a lot of traction thanks to him.
Right.
And we're just, we enjoy getting to do it. And now it's kind of funny because you produce a show. You produce this show, and I produce that show. And I can tell you, when I first started, I had to call people and explain the show. Here's what we do. Here's how. Okay. And now I have people calling me within the city, like big names calling me going, hey, can we get on the show?
Exactly.
And that I see as an honor, really, but more so because everybody loves Randy, so they get to be on the show.
Well, Randy wouldn't go to a place that wouldn't support him and be a great place to work. Randy's I think probably has his choice of places to go and things to do. And so, that's, I'm sure he followed in knowing what he was getting into. Exactly.
It's wonderful. Yeah. He's great. And then some of the other shows that we have a show called The Beat, which are art shorts. We do local artists. It's always focused on the artist. We've done a series. We do them. We produce as many as we can. Then we may have other projects that come up because we have a small staff. And right now we're getting ready to go back into production for the arts and for The Beat. We're going to be doing some things with the city's arts. Yes. The city has a lot of arts they've put up along the Riverwalk. It's one thing we're going to do. We did some artists down at the Briscoe Art Museum, Western Art Museum, and just different artists and things. So we did a story about the swing dance at Trinity. On Friday nights, they were doing swing dance.
Wow.
And at that time, they had the Jim Cullum Band there, and he has sadly passed on. Yes. But I imagine they're still doing it. But that was one of the fun stories we did, because it's people that were 20 years old out there doing swing dancing.
Right. But yes, you wouldn't think anymore, right?
Yeah, it was. Great. So it's fun to get to do that as well. And we have other shows. We just did one about health with University Health. We co-sponsored with them and talked a little bit about health and COVID and things in San Antonio. Right. And we hope that everything that we do, people are interested in, of course, but that we're doing something to give the community information that they need. And one of our big productions this year has been Salud, which was really an awesome show to get to do that I had wanted to do since I'd been there. I kept I'd tell them about it. They'd go, that's a great idea. Where are we going to get the money? That's a great idea. Where are we going to get the money? And we finally did, thanks to Texas Mutual Insurance. They came forward and sponsored the show for us. And we highlighted our local Latina leaders.
Yes.
And, it's really exciting to me in my age group, because I grew up at a time where women really there weren't a lot of options, you were told.
Absolutely.
Now, you could
Let alone Hispanic women now, too, right?
They had a different path. And, I tell people when I was young, you could be a mom, a teacher, or a nurse. 3 of the best professions in the world.
Absolutely.
Those are the key professions. But what if you didn't want to do one of those? There weren't a lot. And for women who wanted to go into something technical or science and math, kind of unheard of.
Right.
So when I wanted to focus on Latina leaders, because they really had to forge their way.
Absolutely.
And you look around this town and they're leading everywhere.
Absolutely. Government, and just everywhere. Entertainment, government, everything, and medical. Absolutely.
Yeah, and their stories were fantastic. And I think it's not just for Latina women, honestly. It's for all women and young women. To know that we've inspired some young women is the coolest thing in the world.
I hope so. Yeah. I hope so. That's what a lot of great women have done for me in my lifetime, and definitely hope to do the same. And so, no, you are doing that as well. And so we were talking a little bit before the show, you're trying to steer things in a medical direction, which, might be a little difficult, but I just definitely wanted to highlight you. You brought up an event that happened to you about a year and a half ago. I believe you lost your spouse, and we're going to talk a little bit about grief and how that. Tell me your story. Where have you been?
Well, it is a hard story to tell, and it's not one that I initially wanted to talk much about, and it's still a little difficult. But I lost my husband to cancer. We spent about a year and a half fighting it, hoping we would win that battle. We were not fortunate in that regard. And we were married 27 years. Oh, wow. He's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful man. Yeah. And I think that, one of the things I mentioned to you to talk about was just the grief and the grief process, because, nobody wants to talk about grief. If you're not going through it, you're kind of like, I don't, or you think if I talk about it, it's going to happen to me. And I think grief is so difficult because the people around you don't always know how your grief is going to go.
Right.
Everybody grieves differently, and grief is not the incident happens, you lose this loved one, and you're terrible, and then you get better as time goes on. It's not linear. It doesn't. It kind of goes up and down. And as I talk to other widows, and I'm on a couple of support groups, people can seem perfectly fine, and everybody goes, "Well, she's doing so great," or "He's doing so good," and then a year later you tank.
Yeah. It's so true. Oh, bless your heart. And I think I'll use the example of my father. Losing my father was almost 12 years ago now. Sorry. And it was about a year and a half ago that it finally hit me after, I was 10 years out, and it finally hit me. But it was because of through something in my life where I felt like I really needed him. And that's where that empty space was, Beforehand, well, he was elderly. We had, lots of illnesses, and I was happy for him to move on. But then I realized my dad was gone, and it's just terrible. So grief is something that I think most people, you're right, want to set aside, deal with a little bit later if they can, because it is so difficult. I think it happens a lot behind closed doors too. I think people want to stand forth and be strong and tough out there, but really go home, and feel it later, kind of on a personal level by themselves. Yeah, mostly. So what kind of cancer did he have? If you don't mind me asking.
No, I don't. He had liver cancer.
And
it's one of the hard ones. And we were fortunate to go to UT's liver tumor center, and I think the doctors were fabulous, and we just had good people all the way. UT Health is a gift to this town.
Isn't it wonderful?
They're so amazing with how they treated him, what we went through, and they were very helpful. But it's a difficult disease once it's spread to a certain point.
Absolutely. Everybody's dealing more and more with cancer, every day these days, right? And even one of my sponsors, Pinnacle Clinical Research, does a lot of work with liver disease and liver cancer. And since I've been working with them, I'm just amazed at the numbers. I'm dumbfounded. I didn't realize, a liver disease was that prominent out there in liver cancer. And so cancer is just more and more what we're dealing with. And I know I've dealt with cancer. I'm not sure. I think you mentioned you may have. I don't know if you want to revisit that. But, it seems like it's touched everybody's lives.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, and everybody.
And I step back and I think, is it just because I'm older now? Is that why? I guess maybe it is.
Yeah.
But, there's
not anymore.
It's just, they told me when we first started on the journey of cancer, I was always researching on Google and always looking up, and cancer in San Antonio, liver cancer is increasing, and they're not really sure why.
Yes.
And there can be many causes for it, drinking too much alcohol, but also I believe it's, and you as a medical doctor certainly would know this, there's something you can get, hepatitis or something people can get, and some people can have it, and it's not a drug thing that they were shooting up. It's something, and all of those things, and they can sit in your body for years, and then it just happens.
Absolutely. So hepatitis B and hepatitis C are two very silent can be very silent diseases, and hepatitis C, in fact, became something that we are routinely screening for now in a certain age population. That would be our population, but in a certain age population of generally 50 and older, just automatically screened because there were a lot of blood transfusions and things that occurred in the past, and we didn't know we were transmitting, and so it now became a disease of bloodborne illness. So I know that there are people who when needle sticks from the medical community, or just it can be passed through the placenta. You can be born with it. So this is a wide array of places where you can develop hepatitis, and then yes, it can lead to liver cancer.
Yeah, and you don't really. It's one of those things that unfortunately there's not early signs. At least in our case, there wasn't. So by the time he was kind of diagnosed, he had one doctor who had seen a spot on his liver and said, "We'll just kind of watch it," and that was a mistake. We should not have done that.
Oh my!
That doctor was not with the UT Health System, but we did all we could. There's so much research out there, and like you say, they're constantly finding new things in every type of cancer, and all you can do is hope and pray for those people behind you who are dealing with this, because it's a rough journey.
It is a rough journey. It's one of those like pancreatic, ovarian that are hidden. And so you have to just get in with your screening, but it's very difficult to screen for those. We don't have an official really screening. We watch liver function tests, and that's about it. No, I have a saying. It's one of those incidentalomas. So when you are looking for something else, you get a CT scan because of a bowel problem or whatnot. You incidentally find something else, and that's what we call an incidentaloma. Yeah. And so you find something else, and you're hoping that is the early detection. Like that. How wonderful is that to have that to rely on as for early detection? It's just not good enough. But
not there yet.
No, not there yet.
Not there yet. But we there's constantly research going. So much research in San Antonio as well.
Absolutely.
And I still keep an eye on a lot of those things. I'm a little interested in it just from an outsider. I briefly did some medical reporting for a national syndicator between my job at KSAT and starting at KLRN. And so I do like looking up medical information. And when I know people that do it, I always stress, look at the source.
Right.
Because you have to kind of make sure.
Oh, we could go a long way on that one.
WebMD is one that is reliable.
Yes.
National Institutes of Health, if you can decipher what they're, it's a little hard if you're not a doctor.
It's a lot of the studies that they
yeah.
And so Google Scholar is a decent place, to find more of the studies too. People just go on Google, but you can actually look up Google Scholar and do a lot of research through that, and you can find a lot more, reliable. And so on that note, we're going to hit our first break here for just a moment. I am going to give props to Pinnacle Clinical Research, who has been a great sponsor of mine this year, and they are doing research in the lines of liver cancer. And so you need to meet these people. Dr. Stephen Harrison, who has been on the show a couple of times, but he's one of their main researchers, internationally renowned, amazing man. And so he has done a lot of work. And so in order to get what I promote with them is getting a FibroScan. So you can get a free FibroScan. It takes like 3 minutes. It's the quickest thing ever. I did it with them. Very easy. And I'm going to give you a couple of numbers so you can reach them, but you can also go to my website. So quickly, my website is drpbetterlife.com. You can find all of the platforms for the podcast, and also a link to YouTube and a link to live stream on radio, San Antonio Radio, 9:30 a.m., which is at 4 on Sundays. I am with football these days, so I kind of have to compete. That's even I don't listen to my own show. I'm watching football. So, but Pinnacle Clinical Research in San Antonio is 210-529-7978. So we're going to take a short break and come back on the other side and continue to talk with Sherry Sinclair. Be right back.
Fatty liver is linked to two different situations, alcohol and diabetes, or obesity. In both cases, patients can have no symptoms. In the United States, and in particular, Texas, the most common cause of liver disease in general is non-alcoholic fatty liver. Again, associated with overweight, obesity, and/or diabetes. Additional risk factors include high cholesterol, high blood pressure, Hispanic ethnicity, and postmenopausal status. At Pinnacle Clinical Research, we offer a quick, non-invasive ultrasound-based screening assessment called FibroScan. This test is done at no cost to you, and we do not take insurance. The test will measure the fat and stiffness in your liver and stage your risk and development of fatty liver disease. You will meet with a provider immediately following your scan to go over your results. If you're interested in getting more information on your liver health, please call 210-982-0320 and schedule your FibroScan today. We are conveniently located in the Medical Center at 5109 Medical Drive.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Dr. Mariane Pinkston, and I am with Sherry St. Clair today from KLRN, the PBS channel. And so I'm very honored to have you on today because PBS has been a part of my world since I was a kid. Like I mentioned in the beginning, you know, I know Sesame Street is what comes to everybody's minds now, but Sesame Street is like a small hour part of programming. I'm assuming 24-hour programming, or at least most of the day. So you guys have some new programming that you're doing recently. Tell me what you have.
Well, you know, we have the kids channel. We have a full digital kids channel now in San Antonio. But we also have on our 9.1, that's our main channel, and that's the broadcast. So if you only had an antenna, you can still get KLRN 9.1. That's our main one. And we do kids programming in the day up until about 2 or 3. It depends on the day. And then we go into the adult programming in the early afternoon. You know, one of the great things, like I mentioned, our leader there, Arthur Emerson, has been so supportive of doing local programming. Yeah. So we're working hard, and we're like, we want to get in more of our local programming. One show that we started doing a couple of years ago on our kids show is Hank and Emma Faye. And Hank and Emma Faye is actually, we created because they don't give us, PBS Network doesn't give us a lot of room in there. We have to kind of hit it during the breaks.
Gotcha.
So we created a 1-minute video that we could play during our kids' programming. Hank is, Emma Faye Rudkin is Emma Faye, and she's a former Miss San Antonio, and she is an advocate for the deaf. She is deaf herself, and she has a group called aidthesilent.com, which is her nonprofit. Amazing woman. Wow. And gorgeous on TV. Right. And Hank is her hearing dog, her therapy dog. So we have these 1-minute videos where she teaches kids in 1 minute. She'll give them a word. Hi, kids. Welcome today. Today's word is love. And she shows them how to sign the word. Wow. Explains to it, talks a little about love, and then again, teaches them how to sign. And it's been an amazing show. We won a Lone Star Emmy for it last year.
I am sure.
And it was her talent, and she is fabulous. And she just, the minute that camera's on, she connects with that audience. And she, you know, to do it in 1 minute, you've got to really make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the cool thing was we had some floats on Fiesta this past year, and for our 60th anniversary. Well, Emma Faye rode on the floats with us. She's always willing to come do things. And we knew that show was popular. But going down that parade route, I was on the daytime float. The kids, Hank, Emma Faye, Hank, you know, they knew her.
How amazing.
So, yeah.
She must be so proud. All of you must be so proud of that.
We are. Yeah. Well, we have an education department at KLRN that is just second. We have different departments there that do different things, and our education department does so much in this community, and they're wonderful. So a shout out to them because they are stellar. Absolutely. And then we were talking about some of the other shows we do. Business of Business is another one that we do this fall, and former Mayor Henry Cisneros will be hosting that.
Okay,
it's really interesting because we're going to look at we do it once a year, this hour-long show. We're going to kind of look at the connection between San Antonio and Austin. Yeah. And we have another special coming up early next year about this as well with him. Because it's becoming one giant city.
Yes,
you know, when I was young and we were like in high school and back in the day, you know, we'd go to Austin to party or San Marcos, and you'd get to about Starlight Terrace out I-35, and there was nothing until you hit Selma, and then you slowed down, and then you got up to San Marcos, you know, and then Austin was still further in the dark, and then finally now it's one giant city.
It is, and it's so difficult to travel that way. I'm glad they have the little toll out that way. That does help sometimes, even after you go almost to Seguin to get there, but still, it's
exactly. So we're excited to get to do those shows as well.
Oh, and, wonderful!
So there's a lot of little fun stuff that we're doing here and there, and more things we're adding in all the time. Yep. So I'm thankful that you're a fan of KLRN. I think it's a wonderful station.
I cut my teeth on it. That was where my education started, because we didn't have preschool and all these special schools, and I was at home, and that was where my education started. So absolutely.
And we hear that so much. And you know, so many of the kids shows that we do are so loving, and they just bring kids at that age into love and seeing positive things, and talking about sometimes difficult topics that come up now for kids, and yet we need to talk to kids about it, and the people with PBS who create those shows are geniuses.
Absolutely. I think there's a purpose. It's purpose-driven, whereas I think a lot of children's programming these days are not, and it's just kind of mindless, you know, just banter to keep them busy. And so something structured like KLRN or like all the PBS channels do, I think are absolutely amazing. So I'm so thankful for what you guys are doing out there.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do, and for all the new beautiful things that are happening. You guys have really put together something special. So I'm looking forward to the years and things that you guys are going to bring to us. And
I think you'll see more of that on KLRN in coming months and years. I think we're doing more in our production department. We have an amazing team of people.
We sure do.
That put it together. You know, you have an idea in TV, and you're like, here's what I want to do, and then you kind of produce it and get it together. But I'm fortunate that I have great people for lighting, camera, and I have an editor, Christina, who does great, and Lee and David, and all these people come in there and they make it look good.
That's wonderful.
You know, it's all part of a team. It starts a little here, but I can only go this far. They take it to that step. So.
Well, it always takes a good leadership and support and people to let people flourish and grow. And so it sounds like exactly what you're doing. Thank you for that. So, well, great. I'm going to have a lot more information on the website. So go to drpbetterlife.com where you can, I'll have everything about KLRN and information about you, whatever you're passionate about, your shows. We can create any links. And so I'll have all of that there for you at drpbetterlife.com. And again, thank you so much for being on. You. Such a pleasure. And
keep going, for having me.
Doing what you're doing.
And the same to you. Keep doing what you're doing.
That's the plan.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here. Really an honor. Thank you.
I appreciate you very much. All right, everybody have a great week. Thank you for joining us.